This is Ian Priddy from the Retro Computer Shack. In this video I'll show you how to connect an Atari 520 ST-FM or a 1040 STE to a TV or video monitor via the HDMI input. For this video I'll be using a broadcast video monitor, but the procedure is the same basically for any monitor or TV with a HDMI input. To do this you'll need my RGB Scart Lead or the Atari STE Scart Lead, depending on which model of computer you want to connect, and this low cost Scart to HDMI video converter, which, as the name suggests, convert the Scart signal into a HDMI signal. Just before we connect everything up, I'll just run through which models which cable you need for which models. So for the Atari ST Scart Lead, that will work with these models: 520 STF, 520 STFM, 1040 ST, 1040 STF, and the 1040 STFM with mono sound, because that's the only type of sound you get out of those models of computers. It'll also work with the 520 STE with mono sound, the 1040 STE with mono sound, and the Mega ST and the Mega 2 with mono sound. And as you've probably already gathered, my STE lead is for the 520 STE and the 1040 STE, and you'll get stereo sound, assuming your monitor's got stereo. The only difference between these two leads is that the STE has got the phono outputs to send the stereo sound from the back of the STE into the monitor. The video side's exactly the same. These RGB Scart Leads won't work, or any other Scart Leads for that matter, RGB, won't work with the 520, the basic models, the 520 ST and the 1040 ST, etc. That's because they don't have a composite video signal or a C-Sync signal, so it's not possible to make a Scart Lead that will work with those. These common issues you'll get are not really relevant when connecting via HDMI. It's mainly just for Scart inputs, those. However, if you don't get a picture and you get a loud buzzing sound, that's the video plug that's been inserted the wrong way around, which I'll explain when we get to the connections. As with all RGB Scart Leads, you'll only be able to display low or medium resolution modes, and that's the same when you're connecting with HDMI, because all you're doing is converting the Scart signal to HDMI. So this still applies whether you're connecting directly with Scart or to HDMI. You'll only be able to display low or medium resolution modes. That's fine for most games and medium resolution desktop work, but if you want to use the desktop or a program such as Cubase, which runs in high resolution and it's monochrome as well, that one, you will need to use the original Atari ST high-res monitors or a VGA adapter, which I don't sell. You should still be able to get one of those on eBay if you want to go that way with high-res programs, but you'll need a VGA monitor that's compatible with 15 kHz signals, which are difficult to find these days. This, for the purpose of this video, we're just going to use this low-cost video converter solution, which gives a good picture, but not as good quality as these professional video converters, which I'll mention, the OSSC and the RetroTink models. I'll give you a little bit more information of that after we've done the connection. So let's make the connections on the computer, and then we'll get a picture. This procedure is exactly the same for the STE, other than it's a different cable and the connections are slightly different at the back. Other than that, it's just the same. Right, so first of all we need to connect the DIMM plug or the video plug into the monitor socket on the ST. Unfortunately, the design of the monitor sockets and the plug means that you can insert it either way up and it will fit. It just won't work. It'll only work one way, so make sure you insert it with this way up and the DIMM pull to the top. The only other connection at the back of the computer is the power, so that's it for those. Then the other end of the Scart Lead, which is the Scart plug, you need to plug that into the Scart input of the video converter, as it's the only socket. I would imagine you've gathered that. Then we need to take a HDMI video lead and plug one end of it into the back of the HDMI input on the TV or monitor. Mine's already plugged in there, so we don't need to do that. Then take the other end and plug it into the HDMI output on the video converter. So basically we're sending Scart to the input and we're getting HDMI from the output. We then need to connect the power to the converter, which is there. Make sure these are switched off first. Doesn't really matter, but I prefer it to do it that way. Then we need to switch the monitor on, or TV, and select the HDMI input, which on this monitor is just a button on the front. Next we need to switch the video converter on, and you should see a power light on it if that comes on okay. After a few seconds you should see the status box appear, which is there. That comes out from the Scart converter. As you can see at the moment, the source or the input is set for Scart, which is correct for what we want. If yours says HDMI, then just press the Scart HD button and that will swap between HDMI input and Scart input, which is what we need. The other thing to check is the output resolution, which is the 720 1080p button. As you can see at the moment it's outputting 19:2 by 1080, which is full HD, which is fine for this monitor. But you may need to press that button several times to get the output resolution that matches your monitor the best. Right, so those are the connections. We switch the converter on. So now we need to switch the computer on. And as you can see, it's now found a PAL signal and we've got a picture appearing. Let me just switch that video light out. The status box should disappear automatically. It varies converter to converter, but it's usually gone within a few seconds. There's not a lot you can do with that. It's a little bit annoying sometimes. So as you can see, we've got, I'll just start that program up. Just run Pac-Mania. It's quite a good one for the sound as well. So as you can see, we've got the screen up there. You should get a nice, clear, steady picture with vivid colours. So while that's loading up, I'll just explain a little bit more about the Scart to HDMI video conversion. Just go in a little bit, there we go, got some more light on there. The Scart to HDMI video conversion with retro computers is not as simple as it sounds. It's not as simple as just buying any Scart to HDMI video converter. It needs to be compatible and work with the 15 kHz video signal that most retro computers and games consoles output. You'll find lots of converters on the market, but most won't work for this purpose. The three main high quality video converters, which you can use for the best to get the best picture and most configurability, are the OSSC. I'm not going to go into these too much, but these are high quality video converters, and the RetroTink 5X Pro. They're fully menu driven, fully configurable. You can alter virtually all the parameters of the video. However, the default settings do usually work with most of my RGB cables. These have multiple video inputs as well, not just Scart. So these are aimed at the more knowledgeable, experienced enthusiasts who have lots of different retro games, consoles and computers that need different settings to get the optimum picture quality. So basically, if you've got the money and you want the extra quality and you've got lots of computers, that's probably the better way to go. This low cost one is just a simple introduction to them at a budget basically. The other Scart converter is the RetroTink 2X. This is, have I got one here? I'll just show you that. That's a very simple but high quality, SCART in and HDMI out. There's no settings or anything, but the picture quality really is superb, so much better than the low cost one, but the choice is yours for those. So I think we've covered just about everything there. If you want any more information on these, if you click the video links below the video, which will give you links to this SCART to HDMI video converter document and this video lead troubleshooting guide. I'll put the links below for that one. Just before we go, I'll just show you the differences in connections. The only difference with the STE is that you'll need to use the STE lead, obviously. So the monitor connection is the same, this way up to the top, and the only difference is you've got left and right audio to plug in, which just go in there. Other than that, the procedure is exactly the same, just using the Atari STE, the STE Scart lead, of course. Right, so back to the picture. Let's see if we so we get sound as well. Switch that light out. Switch that light out, and then I'll give you an idea of what you should see. So as you can see, you should get a nice, clear, steady picture with vivid colours and mono sound in this case. If you're using the STE, you will get stereo sound, of course, but we're using mono sound on that one. Well, that's about it for this video. I hope you find that useful, and thanks for watching. I'll be back soon.